I don't know why this is so difficult to talk about. I'm certainly not homophobic. So I lived with the dead boyfriend's family. I was about 3 or 4, I was in between 3 and 4 months pregnant. And I almost miscarried, and it was very difficult. So that was about the point that my mother and his mother decided I should live with them. I guess I lived with him for about 3 months before he died. When I was in college the first time, well, I wasn't really living with this guy. I was spending half the nights of the week with him. So let's say I was living. Okay, so that's 6 weeks. So that's 4.5 months. And then when I went for graduate school, I lived in a house where I shared a room for almost a year, let's say 10 months, with this boy who wasn't really a boyfriend. We were friends who liked to have sex with each other. So that's 10 months, so that's 14 and a half months. And much to my mother's shame and disbelief, I get my master's degree and immediately go to bartender school. And it was fun. I'm not a person who has fun. I'm just not, I'm not sour-natured like my mother was. I'm not. But I don't have fun. I don't really need fun. I don't need that much diversion. I live in the world. I watch the world happening around me, and that's enough entertainment for me. However, when I first started being a bartender, it was fun, and I had an affair with my first boss. And I wasn't living with him. He was spending most of the nights of the week at my place. And that lasted for 2 months. And then his wife came home. It wouldn't have lasted much beyond that anyway. He was a nice guy, very good looking, but he just wasn't smart enough for me. You know, you don't have to talk smart, you don't have to show off, you don't have to act smart, display your knowledge or anything, but if you're sitting in a chair in a room with me and you're supposed to be my boyfriend, I have to know that you're not stupid. And he was stupid. So that was 2 months plus 10 months plus 4.5 months. Do I have the math wrong? The math is probably wrong, but it was about 14 or 15 months in total. In total. That I've ever lived with anyone. In spite of how conservative she wasn't at all religious, so it's not like she thought it was a sin to be gay. It was just too weird and off the straight and narrow path. I think my mother would have been the type of person to passively discourage a gay person in her office, male or female, by, for example, not giving them the biggest accounts to work on, or opportunities like going to conferences or taking classes. I think she would have been that kind of passively discriminatory employer. But she didn't act outwardly hateful about it, because outwardly hateful people are not perfect, and she, of course, was perfect. So it was probably after the bartender that my mother confronts me with my lesbianism, which of course is non-existent. I think I probably am asexual. I don't dislike it. I've enjoyed it when I've done it, but I just don't need it. If you widen the straight path, and I don't mean straight like heterosexual, I mean just a straight path where you're not getting into trouble all the time. If you widen that, it should be inclusive of a lot of different types of people, because not everybody who's not on that straight and narrow path is crazy. And it was this 3-year campaign. This went on and on and on, where she would try to find ways to get me to come out of the closet to her. My mother was no laughing matter. I mean, she was really pretty horrible. But this was funny because it was so ridiculous and out of character for her to be so obsessive about my being homosexual. My Aunt Alicia was the first person who ever mentioned asexuality to me, because that's how she sees herself. I'm sure that she doesn't completely abstain. I'm sure she would be completely comfortable if the opportunity arose. Whereas I, on the other hand, avoid being in situations where the opportunity would arise, and it's not. And yes, it's true, Aunt Alicia and I got a lot of good laughs about some of the ways that my mother came up with to get me to open up. And then it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. And that is about the time that my mother and I, well, it became impossible for us to communicate.